What's going on, America? This is Kevin in Kevin's Corner, and I was thinking, you know what makes the left good at manipulation is that they are excellent when it comes to exploiting tragedies, when it comes to utilizing all of the victims to get their message across, to put up this barrier, this big block of resistance due to emotions, due to highlighting the tragedy and putting the victim up front to argue the case, which paralyzes any debate, because then when you challenge the opinion of the victim, they have the media backing them up by saying, if you challenge the opinion of the victim, then you're insensitive to the victim. You must be encouraging or supporting mass shootings. You must be supporting bullying, or you must be supporting racism. You can't have intelligent debate because they're able to put together all of these type of programs, marches, rallies, things like that to get their point across. And then they use people to argue the points that they really want to argue. But they say, politically, it might be too tense. See, if the people saw it coming from us, then they would obviously know that we have a bigger agenda. So we're going to use the people to echo our agenda with our partners in crime, the funky, dirty, nasty liberal media. Why don't the Republicans do the same thing? The march last week with David Hogg and the rest of all of the students, unfortunately, who most of them probably against their own knowledge, got up there and they were talking about gun legislation and so on and so forth. And I don't even think they realize that they are simply being used by the left to promote in the future possible either gun restrictions or gun confiscation. And I really think they are gunning for gun confiscation. They want to confiscate all of our weapons eventually. That's where it's heading. See, you got to look at the writing on the wall, and it's all over right now in cursive, okay? Now, with that being said, why don't the right do the same thing? Why don't the right find people that were victims of the same tragedy? There were students at that school that got shot at or was in that environment that they escaped, and the left covers and muffles their voice. You don't hear from all of the students that say, yeah, I was there, but I don't believe in gun restrictions. I don't believe you should take the AR-15 away. I don't believe more gun restrictions or laws are going to solve the problem. There are other suggestions, other ways we can handle it, but we don't put them out front. I would love to see the right organize their march in support of the Second Amendment. All of those students that says, you know what? I've met with the president. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't believe that the guns are the problem. I believe that the safety measures and the law failed us in certain areas. They didn't do their job. I believe that by taking away guns from good people and leaving them in the hands of the bad people is a bad idea. I don't believe in collective punishment. Let's go ahead, restrict the guns from the 99.9% of law-abiding gun owners and on behalf of the 0.1% crazy people who want to shoot up everybody. So there are people out there echoing that also were victims as well. So I guarantee you, if they put together a march in support of the Second Amendment, CNN probably won't cover that. MSNBC probably won't cover that. The Democrats won't show up to support that. But all of the right-wing media outlets, and I'm sure hundreds and thousands of gun supporters will probably attend that and have some of the victims that are not looking at themselves as victims, meaning, well, because I'm a victim, you can't say anything to me. And plus, I'm a teenager and my opinion trumps logic. My feelings trumps reason. My emotions trumps good legislation. Yeah, instead of them looking at themselves like that, they're approaching it going, let's talk about some practical stuff without going straight to the top and thinking that you're going to put a Band-Aid on an open, gaping wound and you haven't dealt with the symptoms, the problem, you ain't stitched it up, nothing. You just went straight from, ooh, that's an ugly wound, let's put a Band-Aid on it, versus what's the first step? Ugly wound, Let's get some alcohol on it. Let's stitch it up. And then maybe if none of that works, we'll talk about a bandage. But right now they went straight to the, oh yeah, just put a bandage on it. It'll be fine. The bandage to them, let's get rid of the AR-15, which, like I said, I think is nothing more than a Trojan horse into going after everybody's guns eventually. So where are all the right? See, the right, when you talk about conservatives, we don't spend our Saturdays marching and whining and protesting over lots of stuff. We don't spend all of our time going down to Capitol Hill and making signs and saying, you know, we feel like it has to be dead serious for us to say, you know what, it's time to get out and march. Because quiet as kept, let me look around. Most of the conservatives, when we see liberals doing that, we crack up. We think they liberal loonies. We be going, why are they whining about everything? Why are they so emotional? Why are they such victims? Why is everything over the top and a big problem? I mean, they're like the kid in the classroom that has a fit because the other kid won't let them use their crayons. It's just straight up like, I'm being discriminated against. He won't let me use his crayons. I want to use... Well, practical people say, well, they're not your crayons, okay? Now, let's talk about how we can get you some crayons. Don't take somebody else's crayons. Don't solve the problem by creating a problem. So, with that being said, the right needs to organize better. Utilize some of the tools that they have accessible to them as well. The voices of people that been in the same situations as some of the people on the left, but have a different view of it. And I don't understand why they're not utilizing these things. If they had that type of a march, you don't think I would go? I would right now. I'd be like, okay, when is the march? Where's it at? Let me see. Let me find. Hey, excuse me, Mr. Officers. They're parking in this area because I'm about to get out and march. Okay. So my point is they have to do a better job getting their message out there. The media will always, the left, the liberal media will always back victims. They will always support issues that the left can't argue against with intelligence and reason and solutions, but they are going to argue based on the fact of they're victims. You're like, but that's not even a reasonable solution. Victims. But what if we try to, no solutions. Give me the gun. That's all I want. No other solutions. But we can actually put things in place because victims. And if you don't agree with this victim's outrage and this victim's declaration and this victim's desire to bring forth legislation and get all those guns off the street, then you must support killing kids. Is that what you support? And then they put the mic in your face and you're like, well, obviously I don't support killing kids. Okay, well, it's settled then. We need to get those AR-15s off the street. So my point, they need to do a better job on the right with the same tactics that the left uses, but it just makes sense. It brings forth practical solutions, and it kind of it just straight demobilizes the left in their stupid emotional arguments. So anyway, with that being said, and it also puts them in a predicament because if certain kids get up on the mic, just like David Hogg got up throwing his fist up and, we're the generation of revolution. I'm going, man, if you don't get off that stage, and it bothers me that kid is taking advantage of the situation and power that the left is giving him. He is drunk right now off of power. When he got criticized by Laura Ingraham, this guy gets up there, and this bothers me when you can weaponize just some kid that says, you know what, I'm offended and they need to boycott Laura Ingraham. And the sponsors are such spineless people. They forget, didn't they learn anything from Roseanne? People support conservative issues. They support conservative views. They support conservative commentaries. For these companies to assume by any sign of negative PR, we have to abandon ship is dumb. I'm going, she didn't call the kid bad. She didn't call him no names. She didn't, none of that stuff. But yet at the same time, they give him the power to just say something like that and then shut that down. That's like giving a 5-year-old a loaded gun and hoping that they do the right thing with it, or enabling your kid by not checking them when they step out of line and speak just crazy stuff. You're just sitting back like, well, they're adults. I mean, they can pretty much say whatever they want. And you keep always justifying their behavior, their statements, the way they interact with adults. And you can tell David Hogg is drunk on power, and he also thinks he's above the rest of the students. When I saw him doing an interview and he's talking about these politicians don't care about these kids, he's talking as if he's not one of these kids. He's already talking like, I'm already amongst the aristocrats and I'm amongst the elites, and I can speak intelligently about all matters. And you have given me a platform to do so. And you've also given me the power to will companies and people into bending to my complaints and suggestions, all off of the premise that I'm a victim, so you can't say anything to me or about me or criticize me. But yet, I'm going to be out in front of the public, yapping away, calling people child murderers and all of this stuff. But yet, when I suffer persecution or ridicule, then all of a sudden, I'm the victim and everybody needs a boycott. And they are enabling that young man, and they're setting him up for failure. Because as a young man, he's going to do something at some point, go too far, say something. It's like Antifa. They enabled Antifa until Antifa went too far, and then they're all like, ooh, we got to kind of back up off of them. We got to disavow. We got to disavow, and man, you can't be all up in Antifa's grill like that. That's what they're going to mess around and do with David Hogg, because they're putting him up on a pedestal, and you can see his head getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need our David Hogg, but with some sense and some practical solutions. That's all I'm saying. Now, you've been listening to Kevin at Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. If you like this video, hit like, share it. Find me on Facebook, Twitter. We're going to be talking about all type of subjects also on Wednesday nights at Kevin's Corner, my blog radio talk show. The link's in the bottom. And if you want to donate to Kevin's Corner, feel free. The link is also in the bottom. All right. So, yeah, the right need to organize, baby. That's all I'm saying. God bless you. See you next time in Kevin's Corner.